Nick, you represented a marginal seat that's not dissimilar to the seat of Dunkley. I know you keep your hand in South Australian politics. Give me your sense of how the issues, I mean, the ute tax coming for tradies and others is a perfect example, the emission standard. Give me a sense how you think the issues will be playing out in a seat like Dunkley.
Well, I really have to agree with all of James's assessments, Peter. The tradie tax, the ute tax, which will hit grey nomads, families, farmers as well. It's cost of living. Like, cost of living is through the roof for anyone who's renting or has a mortgage, and that will be very decisive in Dunkley and other seats like Boothby, Western New South Wales, Western Sydney. All of our mortgage belt seats are really feeling it at the moment. They know they've been lied to by the Prime Minister on power prices. Power prices are hurting our small businesses as well, Peter. It's food, it's fuel, it's not even being able to buy a beer at the pub anymore because prices are going through the roof. So Dunkley is going to be a very important indicator of what is to come for both the Coalition and the Labor Party at the next federal election. I can't see Labor getting on top of any of these issues because they've had plenty of time and they haven't done it.
James, the PM's going out there sort of saying, a 7% swing sort of the average. Well, no psophologist out there, Anthony Green or our wonderful Tom Connell, is saying it's anywhere near an average at 7%. I think the best average you can find there for the Prime Minister, taking out Aston, call that an outlier, taking out the citizenships, is 2.7. I mean, I reckon 2.7 is sort of on the cards come the weekend. But what about the preferencing by Labor of the Greens? Because all week in the Parliament, the PM's talked tough about the Greens. But this is what they do all the time, right? He wouldn't be in power if it wasn't for the Greens. They preference them at every election.
Well, they heavily relied on them in the last two terms of government or the last two elections to certainly get them across the line. And sure, they've got a slightly bigger margin this time than the previous election. But that's an election where One Nation and UAP were running. We've deliberately stayed out. UAP is no longer registered across the country federally, so they're not running. We've deliberately, as One Nation, stayed out of this by-election because if there is to be a litmus test as to who is better respected by the public here, there's 8% between One Nation and UAP that should, by rights, go to the Coalition. And Peter Dutton is like an old Massey Ferguson tractor. He's reliable, he's trustworthy. That's why farmers keep him on the paddock. And I think that the Australian people would trust Peter Dutton over this current Prime Minister.
I made that point earlier in the week that it's a very different field of candidates than 2022. I will be looking for that vote out there on the centre right too, James, come Saturday night.